Lady Pat Sherman, day 2, take 1, cut 1. Here we go, baby. Rock and roll.
If you know her, you know Lady Pat is one of a kind, and she's a natural-born storyteller, full of stories. Personal stories, funny stories, interesting stories. Lady Pat can make a simple trek to the restroom an adventure.
Italy, and y'all, you have to tinkle in a hole in the floor. And they looked at me and they said, well, not if you go to the ladies' room down the hall.
And in the summer of 2014, she decided to sit down and share some of her favorite
They
stories.
said, what happened? And I said, I don't know, you tell me.
Enjoy.
You just wait and see, lady, 'cause I've been in love before.
All right. Holy crap. Hello. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Bill.
Yeah. You doing all right?
Wait, can I say the word Bill?
You can say any word you want. If you use profanity, just remember grandchildren will be watching. So
Well,
keep
the
it-
only word I say is shit, so I'm going to try not to say
Yeah,
it. But
yeah,
if,
yeah.
if I have to for
yes. For
emphasis,
story, yeah, no, we can do that.
Okay.
And by the grandkids see this, and you know, they'll be old. They can understand that word shit is uttered every once in a while. First thing people always come up to you and say, and I know this is historically, you've had to answer this question your whole life, and you know what I'm getting ready to ask.
I know.
You're 75 years old.
So?
People say, how is the Lady Pat? What the heck is a Lady Pat? And that is your first name, Lady.
Lady is my first name. It's on my birth certificate. And you want to tell me, I'm going to tell you how I got that.
Yes.
I have an older sister, and my maiden name is Patterson. And so my father, who everyone called Pat Patterson, wanted a son this time. Well, when I was born, he came out of the delivery room and said, well, you have yourself a Pat, but it's a Lady Pat. And my aunt was sitting right there by, and my father said, what'll we name her? And my aunt said, he just did, name her Lady Pat. So that is what I have been saddled with all of my 75 years. And I don't mind it now. I didn't like it when I was 8 or 9 because everybody said, I have a dog named Lady, can you bark, erf, erf? And it would drive me crazy. Now, it is who I am, Lady Pat.
No, and Lady's the first name.
Lady's the first name, and if you call me Pat, I'll walk right by.
Yeah.
If you call me Lady, I'll stop.
Yeah.
If you call me Lady Pat,
Yeah.
I'll really stop, because I know you know me.
So it was Lady Pat Patterson.
Lady Pat Patterson. You see how that just flowed so
Flows right out.
nicely?
Yes, yes.
I did.
Born in Jennings in what year and
1939.
where?
In Jennings, at their little hospital. I don't even know. It was a tiny Jennings, Louisiana.
I'll be danged.
Yes. In between Lake Charles and Lafayette is where Jennings
Yeah.
is.
And you
Nice
spent how
little
many
town.
years over there?
Only 2.
Yes.
And then my family moved to Baton Rouge, so I was reared in Baton Rouge. Really.
Yes.
I'm
You're a
much
Baton
as-
Rouge girl.
I'm a Baton. People say, where are you from? I say Baton Rouge.
But some of your people from Jennings. I mean, your aunt, your mom.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
still have family that live there.
yeah, I know that. I know. But I mean, the roots go way back to Welsh
Way
and that whole
back.
Jeff Davis parish, right?
Yes, they do.
Your father was, what was his name?
Ivan Warren Patterson. Everybody called him Pat. A wonderful man, full of hell, just great jokester, loved everybody, and a real success in whatever he did. He was a likable guy.
Yeah.
Came from very poor roots, large family. His mother was from England, my grandmother, and she married Benny Floyd Patterson, and he was from Indiana. Anyway, so
So he came from Indiana down here, and that's
yes,
right? Is that
down to
right?
Jennings,
Is that
yes,
right? So how old was he when he left Indiana?
I don't know, young.
I thought
They
he was up from Shreveport, but no, not.
No, not Shreveport.
But Indiana, because he went
Yeah.
back up to school there, didn't he?
No, my father went to school in Indiana.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
Yeah,
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 my
yeah.
father did, yeah. But he was born in Jennings. My father
Okay,
was born
okay.
in
But
Jennings.
his parents came from
Yeah,
Indiana, his dad.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got you. What about Eloise, your mom?
My mother her maiden name was Petrie, and very French little lady, and she had, two brothers and 3 sisters, and Her father was the first clerk of court in Jeff Davis Parish. He was elected. His name was Clairfy Pete, and nice gentleman. And anyway, they had lots of kids. And my mother used to say she always thought she was his favorite because when she was 10, he put pillows in the car they bought, and he let her drive 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
On dirt roads because didn't have a lot of wonderful highways.
Yeah, and not a lot of rules, not a lot of wonderful highways.
Yes.
Pull up one of those chairs, man, if you want to, man. Have a seat. Sit a spell. We're just about done, okay?
Oh, we're through?
Yeah, we have a couple more statements. We'll be done. Is that okay?
You mean you did all this for a couple more statements?
I got what I need. Matt, did we get what we need? We're good to go?
I definitely will get up and slap you. I love it.
Yeah,
You're not filming this, are you?
I really want to just come over for lunch. This is all the guys in the ploy just to eat.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. You get free lunch. Okay. But so your family life with Juanita, your older sister, your little sister Debbie. You stay tight with. Y'all had just a good American, good. Your old man was a good. Pat was a good to y'all.
Oh, he was wonderful. He was great. I wish my children got to know him better before he died. Bless his heart. He died in his 60s with Parkinson's, and so that was a sad death because he was a man full of life and full of good tales, and he could just speak beautifully in the Cajun dialect. And he was a guest speaker in so many organizations, whether he was in them or was asked to go, because he was a performer. He would get up and tell one Cajun joke after another. He had a little leather notebook that he has, and luckily I have it, that has just little bits and pieces of jokes that would remind him what to say, and he would pull it out of his pocket and go, oh, joke about such a boudreaux, or and anyway, was loved by all, and of course could make an Indian, sell a blanket.
Buy a blanket.
Or buy a blanket.
How about he could sell an igloo to a Eskimo? Is that what?
He could sell anything.
Was he like the Dudley LeBlanc? Could he talk like? I mean, I'm sure he was a better as good as Dudley LeBlanc and Hadacol and all that. I mean.
Well, let me tell you about Hadacol. When my mother got pregnant again for my younger sister Debbie, her birth announcement had a pelican flying over instead of a stork. And here was this baby hanging in it, and it starts this way. Man, you're not going to believe what I'm about to tell you. It took me 13 years and several bottles of Hadacol, and you know what? That pelican flew over my lady and dropped the cutest little baby girl you ever saw. And her name is Deborah Gale, and we're so happy to have her. But Hadacol was what he's told everybody.
And who said all that? That was
my daddy.
Yeah,
my
Pat,
daddy wrote. That was the birth
announcement
for my dear sister.
Yeah.
And so he could really tell some Cajun stuff.
Well, I know Debbie has had a bottle of it in her house, and she
does,
has that picture of Dudley selling it old Jew that stuff,
exactly,
huh? That's funny.
Exactly, a lot of good mementos.
But he was he was very glib, very garrulous, very likable, dynamic, and people were attracted to him.
Exactly. And he got in politics because when we moved to Baton Rouge, he was working for the state, and it was
accounting or some auditing type stuff.
And then he got very involved with Jimmy Davis and Sam Jones, and was Jimmy Davis's campaign manager all over the state, who got Jimmy Davis elected. And my father knew everyone. Everywhere he went, everybody knew Pat Patterson. So he was a very likable, strong guy, and lots of good possibility. He could have done anything you wanted.
He was
good. He was good. Yes.
Yeah, solid and go-getter, huh?
He was. And good looking. I mean, he commanded presence when he walked in the room.
Yeah.
And so it was great to have him as a father.
I'm sure. I knew there was a great story of him going back up to college when he borrowed money to get everybody a ride back home. He ended up buying a car, huh?
He did.
Tell me that short story real short.
Oh, well, my father went to University of Indiana. his freshman year, and of course it was freezing and they were lonesome. He had never really been away from home. He was very poor. I think he got a scholarship. Anyway, he wanted to go back for Christmas, and he saw this Model T Ford that he said, oh, I could buy. It's not too expensive, and if I have Joe and Jim and Billy to all put in $25 or something, the car only cost, $150. And so I gathered that money up, bought the car, and said, first of all, I said, you want to ride home? They said, yes. Well, it only cost you $25. Well, it only cost you $25. Oh, really? Good. So he took the money, bought the car, and took him home, and then he got to keep the car. So he was a wheeler dealer and a good joke.
Yeah. What was he scholarship? Do you know what his scholarship?
Basketball.
He was a basketball player.
Yes,
I'll be damned. Is that right? I never knew that. He played basketball for University of Indiana.
Well, he was a freshman, and he only stayed 1 year, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah. And
so he is a self-made man,
Yes.
very intelligent, and he was very poor growing up. Had brothers and sisters. For Christmas they got an orange and an apple, and that's what they got under the tree. He wore knickers. He was a very
suave
and debonair, and loved the way he looked, and very proud man.
Yeah.
So he had one set of long stockings and some knickers, and it had a hole in it. He would take shoe polish and color his leg to make it so that you didn't know it was a hole in his stocking.
Oh.
He was that proud.
Yeah.
So that was it. Anyway, neat guy, and everybody loved him. Never said one bad thing about anybody. So, and funny. He was funny.
Well, and you seem to have been the recipient of a lot of his genes and charisma and your personality.
Well, I would be honored, yes, to follow in his footsteps, yes.
But don't you think more so than Juanita or Debbie?
Oh, yes. My oldest sister was a dear soul, but, I was the one that kind of told her what to do. And then Debbie, who I'm very much alike, and she's like me, is 12 years younger than I am. And so she and I are very close and more alike in our personalities, and we get along great. And anyway, and my mother was a wonderful lady at home, always worked in the garden, and my daddy would come home with friends and say, Eloise, clean up. I have everybody coming for dinner. She went, for dinner? And he said, yeah. So she'd go in and take a shower and whatever and put on a wonderful spread. She was always a good cook. But she supported my father. He was the one that kind of ran the show.
Yeah.
And they loved each other dearly their whole life. And it was nice being raised by two wonderful people.
Mm-hmm. I know you were telling me that when you were in college at LSU, after Baton Rouge High, and we'll get into that in a second, but you used to have Debbie come up to your dorm with you and spend the night.
Yes.
That was a camp out for her, huh?
Yes. Oh, and she was young and, of course, precious, and I loved her to death, and I felt like she was my baby. Anyway, and, of course, when I went to LSU, you had check in at 10 o'clock. They had monitors on the hall to make sure. And she would come and spend the night with me, which wasn't allowed. And I would stick her under the covers and put the spread up. And when the lady knocked, "Are we all in?" I would say, "Now don't say anything. Shh, be quiet." And I could feel her giggling under the cloth, the blanket.
Yeah.
And I said, the lady, I said, "Yes, we're all here, thanks." And she walked on to the next room. And then I said, "Well, now you can come out." And she would spend the night with me several times. We had the best time, and we still do. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Years and years later. Yeah.
I know you and Debbie are super close, and y'all are.
We are.
I mean, a lot of siblings are close, but you two
are tight.
You're tight. I mean,
We're
and that's all you. I mean, that's your last living close sibling, huh?
That's it.
Yeah.
My mother and father are gone. My oldest sister, unfortunately, died several years ago.
Yeah.
So Debbie and I are it, and our children. So we do enjoy being with each other's families and with her. So she's my sidekick, you know. And luckily, IJ, my husband, loves her like a child too, you know. So now she's a child, a sister, and definitely my best friend.
For sure.
Yes.
So 2 years old, you came to Baton Rouge. What elementary school did you go to? And I want a complete sentence, by the way.
Okay, let's see. First, We lived across the street from Convention Street School, which is no more. It was torn down many years ago. But we lived across the street from a little lady. Her name was Miss Georgie Jones. And she had a first grade / kindergarten. And if you went there, you could go younger. And I crossed the street, and she had a big 2-story house that was kind of on a hill, and you walked down, and there was a room under her house that she set up like a kindergarten, and only took about 12, 15 students. But when you finished Miss Georgie Jones School and passed a test, you went straight to the 2nd grade. So I never went to the 1st grade. So
My kindergarten.
They didn't have kindergarten when I was way back
You
then.
tested out of all these.
All of that went. I never went to the 1st grade. Went straight to the 2nd grade. So that was my first school, and you only went a half a day because we were so young. We would go home and take a nap. So anyway, went straight to the 2nd grade at Convention Street School. Then I went to Nicholson Street School in the 3rd grade and stayed there till the Goodwood Elementary was built on, I don't know, I can't remember the street.
Is that clay cut? No, not clay cut.
Not clay,
Goodwood.
By Goodwood.
Yeah,
Anyway, it was in Old Goodwood,
Yeah, that's
you know.
right.
And
LaSalle? No.
I started on, LaSalle is where it is. And I started in the 6th grade. So I was the first 6th grade class that graduated from this new school, Goodwood Elementary. From there, I went to Baton Rouge Junior High, which is uptown now, and the building is still in existence right near the interstate. And then from there to Baton Rouge High, class of 1956.
Boy, that was a great class.
Was it a great class or what? It was. I mean, we're still very tight.
I know you are.
We get together a lot. We have wonderful basketball players and baseball players and football players, and we just had a real wonderful high school. I'm glad I was in my high school those 4 years. Good, clean, fun. Honest, good, and being smart and a nerd, as they call them today, was the thing to do. So I had wonderful, smart friends who have been very successful in life, and I'm still very close to.
Name some, rattle off just some of the names that either still living or not that you remember and just tight friends from Baton Rouge High.
Okay.
Name
Jake Netterville, let's see, Warren Rabb, Donald Norwood, Wayne McVeigh.
Give me some women now.
Huh?
Some
women.
Both. I didn't mean men.
Okay, all right, women too.
I know you had a couple of them pass recently.
Yes,
really
Pickle
friends.
Jennings
Yeah.
and Janet Meyer and there were 8 of us that were so close. And in fact, when we graduated, we said, what could we possibly do? We want to give a memento to all of our 8 good friends, and I suggested we get a silver bracelet with silver discs, 8, and have our name engraved. So everybody went away with a silver bracelet that had Lady Pat, Pickle, Janet, Patsy, Brenda, Estelle, all engraved. Wasn't that a good idea?
Still have it.
I still have it. It's upstairs.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And you have lost a few of those people, huh?
We have. We've lost Estelle and Pickle just recently. And of course her name was Erlene, but we all called her Pickle. Her daddy did and we did. Precious girl. When she got married, she was in Europe that summer and she said, oh, Lady Pat, I like the way your taste and everything. Why don't you just plan my wedding? Because when she got back, she said, you're going to be a bridesmaid, so you just pick out the bridesmaids' dresses and how about the flowers? So I really planned her wedding, and when she got back, it was done.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And they were married. Shoot, they were married 50-something years too, huh?
No, not Pickle.
Okay.
He died. Bill
Okay.
Wood died running track. Bill Wood Smith, and she had 5 children by him, and the 5th one she was pregnant for when he died, and he never knew he had a 5th child coming and a son. So she raised those 5 kids by herself, very beautifully, and they adore her. And are dead. So that was a real loss, and she just died this spring.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I knew
was
that.
sad, yeah.
But Baton Rouge High was fine. Remember,
Oh,
y'all had.
fine.
I know there's some classes after y'all that had Henson Moore and all those people, but
Yeah.
y'all had some real Baton Rouge leaders. I mean, they all
We
came from
did.
Baton Rouge High.
Oh, yeah, Baton Rouge High. And we're still close. And, Jess Searles, and there's just I can hardly think of them all, but they're wonderful. And O'Neill, Jackie O'Neill, and everybody was in my class. It really was special. And on our 50th, in one special member of our class was Neil Jones, who was a prisoner of war for 7 years in the Vietnam War. And we all just ached for him because he was so well loved and wonderful. And he was released, thank God, and I can remember watching a newsreel of him coming out of the airplane. See, it gives me chills. And seeing him, his little skinny body, and he has a crooked arm because his arm was broken, and they didn't set it for a long time, and finally they kind of set it wrong. He is still alive, still wonderful, and we had just had kind of a reunion. And then when he became out of this and was released and back home, we had another one just 2 years later so that he could be our star of this party. And he loved it. And of course, all of his classmates who prayed for him all those years. And he's a wonderful man and still alive. And one of our members of our class owns
Blue Bayou,
Blue Bayou,
Funfair Park, and
Funfair, all that. And he keeps giving us parties every 2 years. Classmates, you go and there's food and drink for us, and so he's been wonderful to us too. And in another 2 years, it will be 60 years that we have graduated from high school. And there's still quite a few of us there were 356 members of our class. 141 are deceased. That's a lot. But we had a great class. Let me tell you what happened. We decided that on graduation night, all-night party was going to be out at a Quonset hut way out near the Baton Rouge airport now, where it is now. And it was a big Army type,
Quonset hut. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, and who could we possibly get to entertain us? Well, somebody said, Fats Domino, of course, who was just coming to become popular. And we thought, oh, Lord, how will we ever get Fats Domino? And he gave us a price, which was, we thought, a lot. We sold candy. We sold magazines. We sold anything possible to rake up that senior class money to get Fats Domino all night long. And he still remembers this, and it is wonderful when you hear him and see him and know that you saw him in person after your graduation. Now that's a special.
Y'all cut the rug all night. Am I right? Was that the twist and all that back then? No, that wasn't the twist. What was
I
that?
found my thrill on Blueberry Hill. And you could go on and on and on, but he was wonderful all night long. So we worked hard to get him, and what a memory we have. It was a special class.
Yeah. The class of what?
1956.
The Bulldogs.
The Bulldogs, Baton Rouge High.
Class of 1956.
And of course we had boosters, and boosters, went out and marched in the football games and so forth. And of course, I'm rather bossy and a take charge person.
Wait, come again? Did you get that?
And I was president of Boosters. It was 4 companies of girls, 25 in each company. So I was in charge of 100 girls, and we wore our little white shirts and green skirts and marched at halftime with the band. And we were good. We were very good.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Had a lot of fun though. Clean fun, huh?
Clean fun.
Yeah.
Giggled and laughed.
No.
And,
Back then you didn't need to go out and drink and all that to care and have fun in high school, did you? I mean, it
It was
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Giggle delight, have a good time over a Coca-Cola,
Coca-Cola.
or whatever.
Yeah,
you
just
know,
popcorn,
just
huh?
yeah.
Mama, you
So-
you were telling me the other day that somebody came up to you at Baton Rouge High. It might have been at that Blue Bayou party, and they said, Lady Pat, when I got to that school, they were a transfer student. You were going down the hallway, and you reached out and said hello. Tell me that story.
Well, there is a man in our class, and give me a minute.
I don't need his name. Well,
At this party, he came to me and he said, I was transferred. And I think we were sophomores or juniors. And he said, I was new in the school and scared to death going to a new school, new town and everything. And he said, I went through that big old doors and down the hall and everything. And one of the first people who came up to me was you, Lady Pat. And you said who you were, and I asked his name, and I said, you know, you look new. And he said, yeah, I just came from such and such. And he said, I'll remember it to this day because you made me feel comfortable. And I thought, oh, how nice. I'm so glad I did that. So you have to remember to smile, tell people hello, and make them a part of your life.
yeah, welcome them. Welcome them. Reach out. Yeah, reach out. Reach out. Yeah, that goes a long
And
way.
you're remembered.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's nice to be remembered in nice ways.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
it
that was
is.
good. And so Baton Rouge High, and like you say, everybody back there was really, I mean, the energy was there, and it seemed like it was just so wholesome. People think Leave It to Beaver and My Three, that era, but it was legitimately, it was all real, and it was a lot of just fun.
We had a great time. We even had, in Baton Rouge High, we had a room in their basement that they kind of let us, there was have our meetings in and parties in and everything in Baton Rouge High. It was wonderful. I can just think of many, and we'd go on bus trips with the band, and all the boosters would get in a bus, and we'd go with the band and the football players to, football games. And anyway, had a wonderful life. It was good. A good.
You
good
went.
high school.
So did you start to figure out what you wanted to do? Were y'all thinking about careers and all that?
Oh, of course. I always said I was going to go to LSU, and went to football games with my father and mother from the time I was 4 or 5. He got tickets, and we always went to the game. And my father, being in politics, I can remember as a child, he would get parking passes, and traffic was bad back then going to the game, and my father had a deputy sheriff's badge, and he would flash this badge, and barricades would be moved, and we parked at the gate at the bottom of the LSU stadium and walked up the steps to our tickets. And so it was so much fun to ride with Daddy. And my father was the kind that had before parties. Now you have tailgates. Well, this was a tailgate at your house. Mm-hmm. And my mother and Daddy entertained all the time. And he would say, all right, it's time to go. And as many people as could would cram into his car because you knew you were going to park right at the gate. Fun. And so as a kid, I remember being squashed in, and he would let us go to the game, my sister and I, my oldest sister, and we'd have a wonderful time. So LSU was always in my blood. Yeah. And so when I graduated, first, Pickle and a few of my good friends decided we didn't want to go to LSU. Well, we needed a vacation. Hey, let's go to Colorado. Sounds good. So we rode off, got admission to the University of Colorado in Boulder, got on a plane. There were me and 4 other girls, and we went to Colorado for 6 to 8 weeks. It was both summer sessions. We stayed, had a wonderful time. Took horseback riding, English.
Now, was this before they legalized marijuana up there?
Much before. And in fact, that is where I'm being truthful, my first sip of beer, 3.2 Coors beer. I'd never had beer. So, see, I was good.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that Patrick, if he goes to UC or CU, is it right?
Yeah.
Colorado. That his grandmother went to the same university. Huh?
There you go.
Sam, Lucy, if they go to school in Boulder, right?
Boulder.
Very liberal college.
Very now, but back then it was, it was just but we had fun. We hiked and biked and did everything. Really enjoyed the summer. came back and entered into LSU in the fall. And some of these classes that I took transferred right over to my transcript, So it was worthwhile, had a great time, and enjoyed the summer in Colorado. Then,
Did you take any legitimate classes, or was it all horseback and needlecraft and water kayak?
No, I think it was English and a math class.
All right. So you knocked out a few credits?
A few credits that just went right to my transcript. So it was pretty good.
Did anybody stay up there? Or did they all come back?
No,
down?
we all came back.
Y'all drove back to and fro, huh?
No, we flew.
Oh, y'all flew up there. Yeah.
Yes, we flew. We, we didn't have cars and whatever. So we flew. Wonderful summer.
How we doing, Matt? You falling asleep yet? All right, good, man.
No, you better not fall asleep.
Better not be. All right, we're not gonna feed you, Matt, if you fall asleep. No, it's more interesting than any bull. This is more interesting than any of our corporate stuff, huh?
I've had a good life.
So you came back to LSU after?
Came back to LSU, and my freshman year, I was the fraternities had parties, and I was a rush party. I was considered a rush girl for Sigma Chi. I met your father. Thank you.
Speaking of fathers.
Okay.
Speaking of fathers.
We were talking about you. Could you tell?
All right. Would you like fries?
Fries with this?
Fries.
Broccoli. Ding ding.
Fries.
No, we're good with fries.
Thank you, you sweet thing. Anyway, went to LSU and went to some Sigma Chi parties, and this young man came over to me and asked me to dance, and I said, "What's your name?" And he said, "IJ," and I said, "Oh, well, I'm Lady Pat." And Lady Pat Patterson, and so we danced a few dances, and he made me laugh right off the bat within the first 20 minutes.
That's important. You got.
It's important. Off the bat, he made me laugh, and so I thought, well, he's pretty nice, And so we kept dancing and dancing, and one of these, and then I thought, well, I'm going to get him because he was teasing like this, and he said. I just had the worst class I went into, and he just went on and on about this professor that was terrible. And I said, "Oh, really?" And he said, "Yeah, he was mean and ugly, and I don't know how I'm going to go through this whole semester." And I said, "And what was his name?" And he said, Mike Johnson. And I went, "Oh, that's my first cousin." And he went, his face blanched, and I said, "I'm teasing." So from that night on, I thought, well, you know what? Of course, I didn't realize there was a spark then, but thinking back, we both enjoyed each other's company through humor, first of all, humor, and enjoying each other fisting, talking, communicating.
Yeah, that's funny. I didn't know that's how it
Yes, that's exactly it. I mean, and he went, I went, oh, God.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we dated on and off my freshman year in the fall. Dated other guys. He dated other girls, I'm sure, and, But before long, we were just going steadily
you had an eye on him. He had an eye on you, probably.
That's it.
Yeah.
And we got along, so anyway.
Well, tell me the story about the laundry basket one time. What did he...
Well, my dear friend, one of my little friends that have the bracelet, Brenda, she was my roommate at the dorm, and she said, "Oh, I have to wash clothes." And of course, we woke up that morning all excited, peering out the window. It had snowed in Baton Rouge, which it doesn't do often. And so I said, "Oh, what a wonderful day." And she said, "Well, I really need to go to the laundromat." And I went, "Brenda, you're going to wash clothes on a snow day? We could go play in the snow." And she said, "Yeah, I really do need underwear." I went, "Oh, dear God." So she packs it all in this laundry bag, looks like Santa, throws it over her shoulder, and we didn't have car, we walked to Tiger Town to a laundromat. We're trudging through the snow, and everybody's having a wonderful time playing, and we're going to the laundromat, and beep, beep, IJ drives by. He had a black Chevrolet car. They called it the Penguin Mobile. His fraternity brothers. And I said, "Get in the car, get in the car." And so we got in the car. I have to preface this with he and I had kind of broken up for 6 months. He went his way, I went mine. So I hadn't heard from him in a long time, and here it was, snow day, and he sees us walking, and we get in the car. And from that day on, we dated again, and eventually got married. But that, after 6 months of not hearing from him, he picked us up in the car, took us to the laundromat, stayed with us. Anyway, so that was the beginning of the whole romance through college. He was an engineer, chemical engineer. I went with education. I went every summer. I graduated in 3 years, and he graduated in 4.5. He was a year ahead of me as a chemical engineer, and we both graduated in the same class, 1960. We got married in January of 1960 and graduated in January of 1960. So, then moved up to Wilmington, Delaware. He was an engineer with Allied Chemical, and started our life driving our Chevrolet car with all of our worldly possessions in the back seat. The beginning of a great life.
And yeah, I mean, those were some carefree, fun times, weren't they?
Fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the ironing board right here in the car, because I was sitting next to him, and away we went.
No seatbelts, no airbags, none of that. No,
starting our life together.
Cuddling up next to each other.
Wilmington, Delaware.
From Jennings in New Orleans or Metairie to Delaware, huh?
Yeah. Well, not New Orleans yet.
I mean, him.
Yeah, him.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
So what did you think about meeting this guy from Metairie and so forth?
Well, I thought he was pretty nice.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know,
He
an only
had
child.
Good skin, didn't he? He had good complexion, didn't he?
He had good skin. I'm not sure, but he did on his face. Yeah, he was funny. And he proved to be funny the first night I met him and throughout our courtship, which is the bottom line of life is if you can find someone to share your life with that makes you laugh, you're lucky. You're fortunate.
Yeah, and that lends us to our first little nugget right here, if you will. But how this world, which is unfair, cruel, sometimes very unusual, strange, mean, evil, sense of humor, huh? I mean, come on.
Does it all.
Doesn't that just kind of equalize, or doesn't that just buffer all the hardships and the bumps, don't you?
It does, it does. And let me tell you a funny story that you said that, because I thought about it today when I remember not too long ago going to dinner with your father at a nice restaurant in one of the casinos high, in Biloxi, I believe. Anyway, we came down the elevator to go home, and there was another young couple there. And we got in the elevator, we had had a lovely dinner, and your daddy said, "Oh, that was the worst meal I think I ever had." And I said, "Oh, that's funny. I was getting ready to say it was the best meal I've ever had." And we started laughing, and this young couple started laughing. And I looked at him and said, "Let me tell you something right now. We've been married 54 years, and humor keeps us together."
Yeah.
And we also have realized that a lot of arguments and differences don't mean a thing. I thought that was that's it in a nutshell. Keep a sense of humor, pick your battles, and enjoy life. And I have been fortunate because I've had 4 wonderful children to spice my life up, and it's been good. Many, many wonderful years. After we got married, and he was an engineer up there, he decided he might want to go back. First of all, we were transferred from the Wilmington, Delaware is where we wound up. Great. Took advantage, just did wonderful stuff. I have to tell you a funny story. Wilmington, Delaware is great. You could go to Philadelphia, you could go to New York, we went to New York to a play. And my daddy helped us get the tickets because he knew everybody everywhere. Well, this man thought we had money like my daddy had money. So he got us wonderful seats for My Fair Lady, probably on the second row, And then he sent us the tickets, and then later he sent us the bill for several $100s way back then on the second row. And of course we were poor, Anyway, we loved it, but we thought, we always enjoyed plays, but that was the most expensive one when we were the poorest, I should say. But anyway, Wilmington was great. While he was there, he decided they moved us back to Baton Rouge to the Allied Chemical plant here. So we went in and lived here, and I worked as a receptionist downtown at the bank, and City National Bank, and had a great time. And he decided to go back to school to become a doctor. And I thought, well, you're going to get a graduate? No, we're going to start all over. So here we go. So he had to apply to med school, and he had to take an English course and whatever. Anyway, got into med school, and he said, that means you're going to teach school, and put me through med school for 4 years. So sure. Well, that's, I think, a month later, after he got the acceptance letter, I realized I was pregnant for my first child. So that's Scott. Scott was born our freshman year in medical school. Michael was born our senior year in medical school. Bill, you were born our first day of residency in residency in dermatology, and Beth was born the very next year. I had 4 kids in 5 years.
Whew, what?
What?
I thought he was supposed to be studying.
Yeah. and and there were 3 years between the first and second.
Yeah.
Oh, well, anyway, here we go. Medical school was fun, wonderful, poor as can be. I taught school, but we had a wonderful time. Met people in, all walks of life in medical school that are still friends with us now. So it was fun.
Good.
Time,
I'm not
yes.
Time out, maybe. We
Whew.
cut.
Yes, let's cut. I'm tired.
Yeah.
Tired of talking.